You've worked hard for what you have. Your money, your assets, your 401k, and home. Isn't it all worth protecting? Nearly 1 in 4 consumers have been a victim of identity theft. LifeLock Ultimate Plus helps protect your finances with up to $3 million in reimbursement. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you might miss. And if your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Let LifeLock help protect what you've worked so hard for. Save 25% off your first year on LifeLock Ultimate Plus at LifeLock.com/aware. Terms apply.
You love podcasts. The stories, the laughs, the unexpected turns. But when this episode ends, the silence starts. Not anymore. Audiobooks.com turns that silence into your next great adventure. With over 450,000 titles, from bestsellers to hidden gems, your love for listening just found its new best friend. And because you already know the joy of audio, we're giving you 3 free audiobooks to start your journey. Imagine your favorite podcast, now with unlimited episodes. That's audiobooks.com. Keep the story going. Sign up for your free trial at audiobooks.com/podcastfree today. Because for podcast lovers like you, the end of an episode is just the beginning. That's audiobooks.com/podcastfree.
This week's episode is brought to you by Amazon Automotive. Amazon carries top brands and can even help non-automotive experts fix their cars and take control of their cars with Amazon Garage. Learn to install air filters, change your oil, and so much more. Just go to amazon.com/mygarage and enter promo code SPIKE. That's my name, SPIKE, to receive $5 off on select orders over $25. That's amazon.com/mygarage, promo code SPIKE.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
All right, here we are, Spike's Car Radio, recording Beverly Hills today, and my guest, Fast and Louds, Richard Rawlings. Richard, really nice to meet you. You and I have never met before, right?
No, sir, we haven't, but I've listened to a lot of your casts, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for stopping in. First of all, what are you doing here? Why are you in Beverly Hills? You don't seem like a guy that would be in Beverly Hills. So you'd be avoiding Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I know, right? Because when I get called here, it's usually because I'm in trouble by the agents or the lawyers or the network or somebody.
Do you get in trouble often on your show?
Well, on the backside, I probably do, because I tend to push the envelope a little bit and bend the rules, because that's what makes our show a little different.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get into it. I love the show. I've learned a lot about car television by doing Car Matchmaker, and one thing I've learned that I didn't know was the audience really likes a format. They like the familiarity of the beginning, the middle, and the end of a show, and they like to come back for that. And Fast and Loud, it's the biggest car show on television right now. Am I right about that?
I believe so. I'm very humbled and blessed to be at that spot, and I hope I stay here for a while.
And you guys are headed into a new season. I started Googling, because I do research for my guests. I want to know everything about what's going on, and I thought, well, it'll be easy to find out what your premiere date is, which I did get, October 16th, coming up on Discovery Channel. But I found everything from season 5 to season 13 with no real answers. What season are you headed into right now?
I cannot answer that. Discovery kind of picks and chooses when they're going to break it. It's I guess it relays on marketing what they're doing there.
But what does that mean? So you don't know what? So that's this genuine confusion out there about what season you're in.
I know, and that's a Discovery thing. I don't get to decide that. I know that right now at my shop we're filming episode like 130 something.
Wow, 130 episodes. So they carve them up then, and then they separate them, and they delineate the season.
Yeah, sometimes the season is 6 episodes, sometimes it's 8. I've seen it be as many as 10.
Right.
It's just however they fish it into their schedule.
And how long does it take you to make an episode of the show?
Literally, if you see us build a car in one episode, like we get the car and at the end of the episode it's finished, that is about 20 days.
20 days.
Start to finish, and that's paint, interior, everything. We don't go out of house except for interior, and we're in the process of moving that in. And we've got 5 to 6 guys at any one time, and we do one car. We film year-round, just like a regular job. Every day we go in, we get a week in the summer and a week in the winter for vacation. And, unlike other shows that film for 3 or 4 months and then they take 3 or 4 months off, we film straight through.
Wow. So every day you're shooting?
Every single day.
That's incredible.
The full film crew's there right now.
They are. And are you producing the show, or do you have a showrunner that's kind of keeping an eye on stuff, or are you just building cars? How does it work?
Well, I am an executive producer, I guess in title, whatever that means to the network and to the production company. But Pilgrim is the production company, and but at the end of the day, what I think is really great about Fast and Loud is it's truly my shop. They're truly my employees. It's truly my investment, my cars, my everything, and we have to sell them to keep the lights on. So we really do the work.
But do you have to sell them to keep the lights on now? At this point, you guys are making some pretty good TV money.
Well,
you are.
Everybody would like to think so, but this is still cable. It's not network.
I work in cable. There's money in cable.
Yeah, well, there's
some
difference.
cash. You're here in Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah.
Because you're meeting with your agent.
Yes.
Well, you and I have the same agent.
And Discovery gives me the wide open opportunity for up to $190 a night for my hotel.
Right. Is that really what they do?
Yes, that's my limit.
Oh, now look. If you're everybody listening, if you plan on getting your own car show, this initial contract, there's a line in your first contract that says travel. You got to get at least business class there.
Yes,
in that initial contract. They're going to screw you on the money for the weekly, but you can get this travel accommodation. That's a nice line that's easy to work. And I'm sure you could have worked that on your own. Where do you stay when you're out here? You probably don't want to say that because people will show up. But
well,
you like to stay in really nice hotels?
I do. I consider
motels?
This as much a vacation as I can when I come out here because I am away from the cameras and I'm usually just doing meetings or things like this. So,
right.
I try to stay somewhere nice.
And what are you doing out here? What are you looking for? Movie roles?
No, I don't consider myself an actor at all. Unless you call it acting a fool. No, I've got meetings with the agents and the lawyers today. I got meetings with the network. We're pitching a couple of more shows.
Really? So how many shows do you have on Discovery right now?
Right now, I've got 4.
4?
Yes.
There's a garage
rehab. Just started.
Rehab, right?
Yeah,
so what's the idea there? Is that like you find a garage that's not working well, you go in and you make it work better? Yeah,
we go in and instead of kicking boxes and telling them how bad they suck, we really take a look at their business and why it's there and where it comes from and the neighborhood and why they can or can't succeed. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, hopefully we've taught them a little bit about business. We've gotten them some better equipment and set them on the road to profitability.
Are you appearing in that show too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Are
you in
character.
all 4 of these shows?
Yes. It's.
You see what I'm talking about, Will? See,
yes.
There's no money in cable. I have 4 shows on
That's
the biggest
problem.
cable network. This is what I say, Richie Rich Rawlings. That's what I'm saying, Richie Rich Rawlings. Look at the number of Cartier bracelets you have on. That's 7 more than I have. That's 7 more than my wife has, as a matter of fact.
It's.
You're making good money over there. That's amazing. It's
well,
good.
I got a lot of business
happy.
interests, and I'm very happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with my team, and we're doing good.
Whenever you can steal the money from the cable networks, it's good. We all like that because we've all been mistreated by these people, and you're grabbing the cash. So what would you say, getting back to garage rehab, what is the biggest mistake some of these garages make? What are like 3 tips you could give anybody who runs a garage?
You're a car guy, and so am I. So we all have the same sickness. We want to hoard. We want to save. We like that extra door that looks cool hanging on the wall, and the next thing you know, you've got stuff everywhere. So one of the main things that I've seen after doing 10 of these garages is they keep everything, and they never want to get rid of it. They never want to throw it away because who knows? One day you might need the rear right-hand door handle for a 72 four-door Nova. But in today's society, with the internet being so proliferant, you don't need to hoard that stuff anymore because you can find that door handle for $7. Right. And so that leads into the next thing of.
So there's a lot of clutter, you're saying, in garages.
One
right?
garage I just did. I carried out 22 dump trucks full of stuff. I mean, he had literally enough working space for like 16 bays, and he had two and a half bays that he could work out of. Everything else was just full of stuff.
Yeah.
And that leads into, the other part. The only thing these guys have, guys and gals for that matter, have, whether they're in paint and body or automotive or motorcycle or hot rods or whatever, is time and space. And if you don't have the space on the floor, then you're not going to be able to sell the time. Mm-hmm. And that's what you've got to have.
That's right. Now, people when they talk about shows on television, my show too, they always say there's a bunch of fakery going on, and I always respond to them and I go, it's more like massaged reality. It's a car show, but it's also entertainment, and we have to kind of cut corners and make things happen and make an episode for television.
You really do. I mean, I do the same thing to a point, but we always use the true numbers.
Right.
And let's say I get on the phone today and I get a car bought. Let's say it's a '69 Mach 1. Well, I'm not going to be able to rustle up 20 camera crew and put them all on a plane and go get it done this afternoon.
Right.
We just get the deal done and we go do it.
So you might just delay the deal till you can get cameras on it.
Correct.
What about negotiations? That's a tricky part. Is that a little more choreographed? Or
it is not. The way that I do that is I do the deal because obviously I'm on the phone with the guy or I'm on the internet and I get the deal done.
Okay.
But when the cameras go up, we do it exactly where we started. If the guy wanted 25 grand and I talked him down to 17, that's exactly what we do with the camera.
I was watching an episode where you were selling a Corvette to a friend of yours. I forget what it was, but it was a nice Corvette, and you said, I want 40 for this. But tell you what, just in the interest of getting it done, I'll give it to you for 35. And he said, deal done. And the guy said, I would have given you 40. I would have given you 45.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it happens. I mean,
so you're buying, are you looking at specific budgets for these cars to keep your audience in mind? Just the other day on my show just moved to NBC Sports, so I have a whole new audience over there. And immediately they let me know what they thought about my show.
Oh, yes, they did.
They were very upset that I was offering cars to this buyer that were over $50,000. Because I kind of believe the car thing is aspirational, and I grew up, without any money, but I love seeing really cool cars, Do you have a budget in mind when on your shows for your cars? Is there a number that you don't go over, or are you guys all over the place?
No, we've been all over the place. I mean, we built a wrecked Ferrari F40 and sold it for $630-something thousand.
I've seen that car out in Malibu, right?
Yeah, I heard it's around here now.
It
went out east for a while, now it's back over here.
It's super cool.
It is, and it's a much better, faster, leaner, meaner F40. I don't care what anybody says, and Forza even said so themselves. But so I try not to stay in any one gamut of monetary value, and I try to spread the gap. But at the end of the day, I also want to always – that's what we do with the secondary cars in the episode is we want people to understand that it doesn't matter how much you do or don't have. I mean,
right.
when I grew up, my dad worked 3 jobs just to make a living, but he always had a Maverick or a Mustang or something that was his. It wasn't the coolest one on the block, but that was the one he was proud of. You know? So – you don't have to have a lot of money to be in this, in this enthusiast network that we're in.
What'd your dad do?
My dad was a produce manager most of my childhood, and then he had a newspaper route. Morning and afternoon. Mm-hmm. You had 2 papers in the day back then.
I love the produce guy. I used to work in the produce aisle at Hockomock Farms.
Yeah, let me
it's
tell you.
It's a nice place. It smells good.
Yes. I'll tell you how I guess the word would be white trash I am. In Fort Worth, Texas, where I was born, they put your dad's not only occupation, but his place of employment on your birth certificate. So my birth certificate from 1969 in Fort Worth, Texas literally says Piggly Wiggly on it.
That's amazing. Yes. Why do they do that?
I have no idea. They don't do it anymore, but
that's great.
That's where my dad was working when I was born.
So then he's also a car guy. He's also an inspiration to you.
Yeah, he always was. He was never a mechanic, but he was always very proud and kept his stuff clean and perfect. I mean, it might even had scratches and dings, but it was the cleanest one on the block.
Wow. And so what did you grow up really wanting? Was it always American cars that you were into?
Yeah. I was always an American car guy as a kid. I had my first car was a 74 Mercury Comet. Which is basically a Maverick with a couple extra chrome.
How old are you now? 15, 16?
15. Yeah. And by the time I graduated high school, I bought and sold and traded through Cutlasses and station wagons and everything else. And
so you were doing this in high school.
Yeah.
You were buying and selling.
So
do you remember your first sale?
Yeah.
Your first flip
I sold the Comet. I traded it for some cash and a Spirit of 76 2-door Impala.
To who?
I don't know, just a guy down the street. But, and I was flipping motorcycles, and I had some funny stuff along the way. But, when I graduated, I did have a 77 Bandit Trans Am with T-top, so
wow.
I had worked my way up.
Wow, that's awesome. And then where do you go after high school? What do you do?
Because
you've had a lot of interesting jobs, right? Weren't you a firefighter and a police officer?
I was a firefighter, police officer, and medic before I was old enough to drink. So I pretty much went straight into the service there.
When you're
service.
a medic, what kind of training did you have? Were you driving an ambulance around Texas?
Not around Texas, but around the town that I worked in. Yeah. So I was where I worked. You could be police officer and firefighter and medic for a while. So you were either driving a cop car, you were on a box, or you were driving a fire truck.
And what kind of training did you get? Any?
Oh, yeah.
Did they just give you a gun and a badge?
No. I had to go to police academy for 6 months and then was trying to get a police job at the time. And when I turned in an application at one place, it was the same application, which was back then was like an inch and a half thick, to be a firefighter. And I was like, I'll throw it in there.
So did you make any big busts? Did you ever shoot anybody?
No, but I got shot. I took a bullet in 92.
Really?
Yeah. It came
On a
in
stop?
on my shoulder and came out down
Look
here.
at that. He's got a big scar from elbow to bicep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
wait, how did you get that? On traffic stop?
Carjacking.
Wow.
I was young and, like I said, I was underage even. But this was happened when I was 22. And I just, for some reason, I wouldn't carry my gun when I went out drinking at the honky tonks and what have you.
So
with
you
my
weren't
buddies.
in the uniform at that moment?
No. And I stopped by on the way home to get a burger, and a couple of bad guys came up from behind and started shooting.
What do you mean? Explain that to me.
I gave the lady my order, and I'm sitting there, and I heard her she took my $20 bill, and she shut the window, and I heard her lock it, which was real weird. It clicked lock. And by the time I looked in my rearview mirror, two guys were already coming up from behind, the building. I reached down for where I kept my gun, and it wasn't there because I didn't carry it, and I'm like, shit. And I threw it in gear and took off, ran over the bushes and what have you. And I got my hand, I'm shifting through the gears, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't steering. And it was because my arm had just kind of fell limp because I'd been shot.
Oh, no.
But, it worked out because if I'd have had my gun, I guarantee you I'd be dead because they were already shooting as I was reaching for it. So...
Yeah, or you may have shot somebody and then you have to live with that. It's still not pleasant, especially now that you have a TV show. That's where you're headed. All right, we're going to be back with more Richard Rawlings in a second. Need to shop top automotive brands for your car like K&N, Power Stop, Chemical Guys, Bosch, and more? Now you can do it with Amazon Automotive. They let you shop auto parts, tools, and accessories quickly and easily from your PC or mobile device. And learn to do the installations yourself with Amazon's My Garage. Go to Amazon.com/mygarage to get started. And be sure to use promo code SPIKE for $5 off select orders over $25. That's Amazon.com/mygarage, promo code SPIKE.
Hey, it's Adam Carolla. Now, if you're hearing my voice, it means you like podcasting. And if you like podcasting, well, then you're going to love my show. Lots of funny segments, good bits, great guests, and, of course, moi. That's Mexican for me. So, check it out at Podcast One, iTunes, or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. The Adam Carolla Show. Throw it on your phone. It's free.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back with self-admitted petrosexual motorhead Richard Rawlings. That's what Discovery calls you, right? Petrosexual.
Yes. That was in one of the early releases, yes.
And I read that there's some Aaron Kaufman news going into this season. Now he's your master mechanic, right? And he's suddenly off the show this year. You're doing your first season without him. Do I have that right?
Yeah. This will be our first season without him. He kind of faded into black at the end of last season, and he's got his own thing going on now. You got to love the networks out there. They take the talent and cultivate them into something else and put them against you.
What's he doing? He's got another show.
Yeah.
He's going to history.
No, he's staying on Discovery with the same network, same people, same production company, same everything. Let's go up against him.
Oh, I see. But that's complimentary programming. We call that shoulder programming, right? It's still. Do you get a piece of that? Because you made the guy, right? Don't you get a little sliver of that?
I'll go on the no comment on that.
Is that one of the 4 shows?
No, it is
So
not one of the 4
shows.
No,
God,
it's
what
not.
A place.
And no, I've been excommunicated from that.
Well, clearly you're keeping Discovery on the air at this point. So, how do you get from getting shot, getting takeout to a car show? Like, take me through it.
After I left being a police officer, firefighter, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Stumbled into printing and advertising and did fairly well in that. And
what does that mean, printing and advertising?
I built a printing company from the ground up in Dallas, which actually survived the big crash and what have you.
So with the Heidelberg printing press type deal? I used to work in a place like that.
All the way up to 40-inch 8-color equipment.
Wow. Did you do the supermarket labels? The little, like...
We did everything. I mean, you name it. A lot of printing companies specialize in certain things, and when I say printing and advertising, most of my stuff was the brochures and the product folders and the company descriptions and, all the flash and the pan stuff that companies give out. And so I had an in-house design firm and in-house film firm and plating and, all of it. And, which was odd back then. A lot of places back then, you went to your agency and had it designed, and they went to a pre-press house to have the proofs done, and then they brought it back to you, and all this circle jerk until you got back to the printing press. And I kind of was one of the first people to bring it into one house, which now it's all digital.
You still flipping cars at this point?
Yeah.
You're still the whole way through your life. You're flipping cars.
That was just kind of what I like to do on the side.
Okay, so you got your printing company. You sell that?
I did. I sold it.
Make some money, buy some cars.
It wasn't a lot. It was just enough, and. I'd laid there and I watched the shows that were on back then, which were predominantly motorcycle shows. And I liked them. I was a motorhead. I got into it. But at the end of the day, I was like, there's so much bravado that my wife and kids at the time wouldn't watch with me. I'm left alone watching the show. And then at the end, I felt deflated because I was like, God, I can't afford a $200,000 motorcycle. So I was sitting there after I sold my company, and I told my wife, I said, you know what? I said, I think there's room for somebody, or a brand and a company that is not so much tough guy, but still is a cool car guy and still likes to have fun and do burnouts and ride motorcycles and drive fast cars and what have you, and make it more of a family affair. And that's kind of where Gas Monkey came from, was wanting the kids and dads and moms and everything to be involved and not alienate
but a lot of people have these ideas in their homes, but you're still in Texas at this point.
Yes.
That's not exactly the center of show business.
No,
so when you tell your wife and she goes, yeah, whatever. Take the garbage out.
Yeah. So I started.
I'm getting dinner ready. Put the kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know.
How do you get from that moment to right here?
Well, it was perseverance. I banged on the doors. I studied all the other guys and gals that were on TV at the time, and I kind of put my dream team together. It's like, okay, this is why they failed, or this is where they're going wrong, And
where do you find this dream team? Around Texas?
No, I was here. I was basing my study out here in La La Land, and it came in that it was Discovery, it was Pilgrim, it was CAA, it was all of this team.
But how do you even get there? Is what I'm saying. So you've sold this company. Do you start the garage first?
Yes.
You start the garage first,
yes,
with the idea of it just being a working garage where you're going to build stuff, right?
Well, it was the idea to make a living, yes.
Right.
But the ultimate goal was hopefully to get something on TV. But you had to earn the street cred. You had to get out there. I mean, me and Aaron traveled the coast to coast in an 18-wheeler with a couple of our show cars for like 4 years.
Right.
I mean, and going to flea markets and car shows and wherever, selling T-shirts and trying to put the word out. And, it took a long time to get the street cred enough to even start making magazines.
So who do you pitch first? Like, where's your first phone call from Texas to get a show on television?
Well, back then I was hitting up Spike. They were fairly popular. Yeah,
okay.
They were on the cusp of doing really well back then, and I don't know what happened to them. Are they around anymore?
They are now transitioning to the Paramount Network.
Okay.
And yeah, they are. My good buddy who used to do cue cards for Letterman runs the network. They do very well. They're doing very well.
Well, that's good. So I was hitting them up, and then, like I said, through studying the other people that had gone before me, I decided that it had to be Discovery. It had to be a 1-hour show. It had to be CAA. It had to be Pilgrim. Craig was the most, proliferant at the time.
And how did you know him? Just because you saw the end card of the show? Or?
Yeah, I just picked up the phone and started dialing for dollars, so to speak, or dialing for episodes.
I love it. That's fantastic.
And I just fought it down, and I think at one point, Pelagian got tired of me calling. He's like, you've been calling me for 3 years. And I said, this is going to work. You're not listening. And it was 5 hard years of pitching the show before they finally bid off on it.
Wow. So Craig first, you finally wear him down. He brings you in, and then
I was hitting Discovery at the same time, too.
At the same time.
And I was hitting Spike. I was hitting, anybody that would listen.
So what is that meeting like? You finally get this meeting. You get everybody in a room.
They turned me down 3 times.
So wait, you pitched the show 3 times, and they let you back 2 different times.
2 different times, because how did
that happen?
Management always changes. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah, that's
it's like playing Chutes and Ladders when you're trying to get a show sold. You'll get all the way to the top, and you think you got it done, and
exactly. No, I was just hearing about that on the way over here to the studio.
Exactly.
Someone we knew disappearing all of a sudden.
Yeah,
to deal
they
with
do,
it.
and
that's great. So
3 times it took.
Boy, that's amazing. So you. The executives disappear. You got let's take another go at this. The third team comes in, but Pelagian's with you the whole time. He believes in you, Craig,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Pilgrim. And then you finally have the moment where they go, what? Take us into that moment. So
They didn't tell me then. They just listened again.
They listened again.
And I told them it would work. And most of their fear was that people wouldn't understand cars. And I'm like, it's still a motorcycle and wheels and brakes. I mean, what is your problem? Because they were just so sold on motorcycles at the time.
Right.
And then they were worried that I couldn't produce a car that fast.
Right.
And I'm like, it's still wheels and tires and brake and,
Yeah.
I can do this. And so they didn't tell me anything. And about 6 days later, Greg calls and tells me, we got it. We're doing good, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, let me get my shit together and, let me get everything set and we'll get ready to start filming. He goes, no, I'll be down there on Monday.
What did they order? A pilot? Or
They ordered 6. out of
6
the shoot.
episodes.
They
Wow,
ordered
amazing.
6 out of the shoot.
Did you lose your mind at that moment? Were you freaking out?
I was because, obviously, beginning, I knew that it was one last chance. And I was like, golly, this is all the marbles on the table.
Yeah, and your friends, I'm sure at that point, are rolling their eyes at you going, this guy and his stupid TV show, he's never going to get this thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you walk in. Whose mind was blown the most?
I think my wife's. I mean, she was just like, you did what? I said, I got it done. Because when I pulled up with the first car that had the Gas Monkey name on it.
Right.
And it was back then, rat rods were all the rage.
Right.
And it's spitting oil and backfiring and rusty and everything. And she's watering the flowers. And she goes, I hope you know what the fuck you're doing. And I said, I got this, baby. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, because you look like a lunatic. And before this happens, you look crazy. I have much personal experience with this, coming from a small town in Massachusetts. And most notably, when I was telling my friends that I was going to be going on Fox and being their new late night host. And we went through 2 network presidents, and the first one who picked up my show suddenly left the network, and then another guy it took me a year to convince him. So I had a full year of me telling my friends that I'm going to be the next Fox late night host.
Yeah.
And them just rolling their eyes, going, yeah, of course you are. Well, yeah, yes, they're coming after Spike Ferriston. That's who they want, this goofball nerd writer to host their late night schedule. And, you don't notice it until the job happens, and then you're with your friends the next time, and they tell you the truth. They go, look, man, we thought you were criminally insane.
Yes.
We thought you were out of your mind and just speaking crazy.
I still have some friends that I had back then that run into me, and they're like, holy shit, you screamed and talked about this for years, and now look at it,
God, it's so great. I love hearing stories like that.
But we got off to 6, and I think that when the first one was in the can, they ordered 6 more immediately before it ever aired.
Yeah. Well, now, I have a production company. I'm making the rounds. All I hear about is we want shows like your show. We want shows that appeal to that audience because those are the folks watching TV right now. And to hear you say all that was working was motorcycle shows. Nobody wants motorcycle shows.
No.
Nobody watches I love motorcycles.
Yes.
But nobody watches motorcycle
Well,
shows.
it's a difference. We're really approachable, not only myself but my entire staff, and we hang out with the families and the kids and the moms and the dads, and I'm still a goateed, I guess, semi-tough guy with some tattoos, but I got a poodle, and I don't wear a bandana.
He has a poodle. We'll be right back with Richard Rawlings after this. Hey, if you're like me, you've always wanted to fix your own car, but never felt empowered enough to actually do it. You never know if you're buying the right part or even if it's going to fit. Well, now you can check fitment online of millions of parts using Amazon's Part Finder tool. All you have to do is enter the year of your car, the make, the model, and Amazon will tell you if it fits. That means if you find the part, you just look down and it goes, yep, there you go. Your 98 Porsche C2S side light, that lens, that's it. It's going to work for your car. You're not going to get it and then open it up and then have to send it back and get the right part. Get started by going to Amazon.com/mygarage and start shopping their comprehensive automotive catalog. Be sure to use promo code SPIKE for $5 off select orders over $25. That's Amazon.com/mygarage, promo code SPIKE.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back with Richard Rawlings. Fast and Loud premieres Monday, October 16 on Discovery Channel. They took the out of Discovery Channel, didn't they? It's
I
now
think they
just
did.
Discovery.
That was probably
Channel.
a marketing. They probably had 17 meetings on that and took 2 years to make the decision.
Now, Gas Monkey Garage. Do you own Gas Monkey Garage outright as far as all the branding and the
Yes.
merch and that whole deal? How were
Yeah.
you able to keep that separate?
That was the one thing that I did do right in the early contracts is I kept that separate. They even wanted to call the show Gas Monkey at first, and I was like, no way. This is something I've owned for 12, 15 years, and I'm going to keep it separate. And I think that's the plan because nobody's going to buy a Fast and Loud T-shirt. Let's face it, but they'll buy a Gas Monkey
they'll
T-shirt.
mess up the merchandise. The reason, if you're wondering why I asked that question, if you have your own brand now that isn't owned by the network, all the money goes to you. And if you're making a car show, you want to have that little separation because otherwise you just get a percentage of the merch if the network is selling it, and then that definition. You're getting screwed.
Yeah.
And, they're going to make a ton of dough off you.
Well, I actually reversed it. I gave them a little piece.
You did. That's good.
Yeah, so
I love this.
Discovery's got their hand in a little bit, and Craig Pelagian does too. And so they have an added incentive to help us push that.
You got to give me a show. You got to give me just something. What? Maybe you're a receptionist. Can I do something with your receptionist? What does she do?
I don't have one. Literally, I do everything on the cell phone. I don't even know if we have phones at my shop, to tell you the truth. Everybody operates on their cell.
All right, now let's talk about cars and collecting cars. Do you collect cars?
I do.
Aside from buying and selling, what do you collect?
You know what? Similar to the show, I'm into everything across the board. I don't really particularly have this one thing other than 32 Fords. Mm-hmm. I'm a 32 Ford guy through and through. To me, that's where hot rodding started. But other than that, I collect anything and everything. My collection is always different. And I say my collection, people come into my warehouse and they're like, oh my God, are all these yours? And I'm like, well, technically, but I'm also selling cars. So
Right.
they're all for sale. I have only about 4 or 5 that I'd never sell.
So you have 4 or 5. What are those cars?
I've got my Shelby Mustang that's from the Thomas Crown Affair, the one that's all lifted on dirt tires and all that. I've got the first car that Gas Monkey ever made. I was actually able to buy it back a couple of years ago. It's a 52 Fleetline. I've got the first car we ever made on television, which was a Model A. And then I've got about 3 32 Fords. I've got a Roadster and 2 3 windows. And
Why does one need 3 32 Fords?
to me, they're like money in the bank. They never go down. They just always go up. Now, you don't see the spikes like you do with some of the Porsche stuff that's going on now, or the Italian things that are happening. But, between German and Italy cars, sure, you're going to see these massive spikes in these cars selling for massive money. But 32 Ford just like savings account, just keeps going up.
And you drive these cars?
I do. I pretty much just pick one. I'm kind of like Jay Leno. I'm just telling my guys I'm going to drive that one today. And
that's what you drive around. Do you race at all? Do you go to the track? Or
I don't personally drive, but I do have some race teams. I've got 2 NHRA teams, Top A Fuel and Pro Stock teams, and we've got a Monster Jam truck team that tours the nation right now, and we've got a rally truck and a Baja truck, and I've got my hands in some of that racing.
Yeah,
but I'm not the racer guy.
Is there any better way to lose money than racing?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The best way to have $1 million in racing is to start with 2.
That's right. Wow, Rich Rawlings. You have restaurants and energy drinks, I'll bet?
Yeah. I've got seven restaurants now, and 3 are
Seven restaurants.
3 are being built. Yeah, we got Gas Monkey Bar and Grills.
Where can we find a Gas Monkey Bar and Grill?
There's 2 in Dallas, 1 at the DFW airport. There's 1 down at Fort Hood.
Right.
There's 1 in Key West. There's 1 being built at Foxwoods, Connecticut.
Oh man.
I've got Ramstein, Germany, Fort Bragg, and Fort Bliss, all going on 2 military bases. I'm actually doing some kind of USO trip for Thanksgiving. I'm going to have Thanksgiving dinner in November with the troops in South Korea.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't stay there too long. Just read the newspaper.
Get a picture. Get a picture
Korea.
peeing over the line or something.
I just would worry about an atom bomb dropping on my head, but let's hope that doesn't happen.
We've got all that. The energy drink's going good. We've got a tequila, a vodka, and a rum.
Wow. How do you keep an eye on all this stuff? Do you get?
I've got a great team, and
that's good. So you can delegate. You're not. You don't have to go and try every appetizer and every taste of tequila.
I do, though, because what I found also, I said I studied the people before, and what really impressed me the most was, yes, they would license everything out, and they seemed like this big, giant brand, but they were just licensing. So other than like T-shirts and things like that, I'm an active and usually the largest percentile owner of everything I do.
Right.
And that keeps us from just being this brand that, some guys went out and raised, all this money and we're going to build all this stuff.
Right.
And it's all fluff and all the money goes away and all the things go under. And so, we, like my restaurants, my tequila, my energy drink, everything, these are things that I actually physically own.
Right. And you must be thinking someday, not
Someday.
now, someday.
Yes.
Maybe I will sell the whole thing as one big fat package. And
Well,
where
that's
would
the
you
goal.
move?
I'm going to the islands.
You go to where, to the islands? So you're a Jimmy Buffett type deal.
I don't know if I'm that much islandy, but a nice boat in the islands would be pretty stellar.
Boy, that's amazing. You will winner. I love when I meet these TV winners. It's hard. It's getting harder and harder to be a TV winner.
I don't know if I'm a winner yet. I'm still a trier.
You're well on your way, sir.
I'm a trier.
With 5 shows and all of these businesses and this big brand, it's amazing. I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy to meet people who do this, who come to Hollywood and then leave with a big sack full of cash.
Well, I haven't gotten the sack full of cash yet.
You haven't.
I'm still getting berated.
We can all see it. And, this show, they must be just wanting to keep it on forever, right?
I hope so. We're changing it up, the recipe a little bit, but like you said, they do.
So
we
how
do like
so?
a regimen.
What differences can you talk about in this new season?
Well, I think you're going to see us expanding our horizons a lot with the departure of Aaron. We're getting to build some things that I think appeal to the masses a little more than just big wheels and dropping them. And so we're getting to have some fun with that. And then we're adding a little bit more element of the family part of our shop. I mean, we've all been working together forever, and we live, eat, and breathe this stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more fun to see a little bit more of the back of the house.
Does your wife ever want to be in the show?
She's been in a couple of spots, happens to get in there, but she doesn't really like the camera. But,
she doesn't. That's good.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't.
What about kids?
I've got a son that's from a previous girlfriend, and then I've got she has a son that's from a previous. So we never had any together. I think that's the secret.
Yeah. And are they? How old are the kids?
20 and 22.
20, 22. So what are they doing? What do they want to do?
Oh man, one of them is still struggling to find his way, and the 22-year-old is graduated, and he runs one of the other companies that Sue and I own. So
great.
We've got some other ventures.
Do they like cars too? Because I have 2 boys. One of them is really into cars. One of them couldn't care less.
I don't think either of them are really into it like you and I.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, yeah. And,
Why do you suppose that is?
I don't know. I guess the apple falls far from the tree because.
I sometimes wonder. It's because it's what Dad is into. I'm not going to be into it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I didn't have a cool dad. I had a dad that drove a Ford Granada that he used as his own personal ashtray, right? And it was silver with red velour, and it had, I swear, I'm not lying, on the first day that it came new, he put holes in it, right in the seat, just from the ash falling on. So, like, I already liked cars. I've always liked them, but, it was my thing, you know what I mean? But now to have a dad with all this stuff going on, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's just that little bit of rebellion, that if maybe he's going to be, I don't know, maybe they'll be accountants or something.
Yeah. Well,
a cool dad like this, I don't know what I would do with that.
I don't know. You'd probably decide you want to be an accountant.
What is your, when you're on a bar stool and you're talking to your buddies, what's your greatest find? Like, what's the one you go, this is really the one that blew me away? Which car?
We found a 365 Ferrari in a barn about 3 years ago. That was pretty wicked cool because it had been sitting there since 78 or 79.
Wow.
But usually my favorites are like their true barn find. Like we just finished an episode where we found a 2-owner 1934 Ford 5-window coupe on 19th Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, we're talking downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma, on a main on a main street with all these houses. Yeah. And somehow this guy's car sat in his back shed for
it's amazing,
since
isn't it?
the 50s.
They're everywhere.
They are still
everywhere. They're out there. I remember driving down my street here in Hollywood. I don't know if you know where Doheny Drive is, but I used to live up there. And looking through the gate of this house that I'd driven by a bunch of times and seeing this little blue 356 with a broken window and going, look at the front bumper of that thing. That looks like a Carrera, a GT strip. What would that be doing? That's not the right strip for that bumper. Because there were only 20 cars that had that. But why would that just be sitting there? And then a few weeks later driving up the street with Seinfeld going, hey, let's go look at this thing, and finding this Carrera GT 356 4Cam.
Wow.
Just sitting there in a guy's front yard, rusting. Knock on the door, and this guy's girlfriend in her delightful jean shorts answers and tells us this amazing story about this. This is this guy's grandmother's car, and she rallied it around Africa, and she recently died and sent the car, and, you know.
Wow.
It's just sitting in a guy's front yard. You know, that's a car that's worth about $1 million right now. Seinfeld eventually liberated it from the guy. We're using what a little theory we call seed theory, which is, you know, when we met this fella, he said, there's no way I'm selling you this car. This is my grandmother's car. I'm a screenwriter. I'm going to write a movie about it. And I think New Line's interested in buying it, and I'm going to have New Line Cinemas restore the car. Is what he said. Mm-hmm. A movie company restore one of the rarest Porsches with a little, like, jewel box engine, 4Cam engine, of which there are a couple of guys who can work on it. And we said, well, that's going to be a huge disaster. And we said, if you want to sell it, I know you won't, but why just remember, you know, Jerry will buy this thing. He's got the mechanics. He'll put it back together and really, you know, be a nice tribute to your grandmother. He said, there's no way that's happening. Well, 12 months later, he sold it.
Yeah.
Just every month, just kept knocking on. Hey, how's that car coming? How's the New Line Cinema restoration coming?
Exactly. Now I have an entire notebook. I do the exact same thing, and I do it.
What are your best tips? Give us one of your tips for, you know, because we all, you know, covet somebody's car.
Just keeping up with them, and you got to play that game exactly like you're talking about. You call it the seed game? Yeah, you just call. I got a list of guys that I call every Christmas Eve during the day, and I'm just like, hey,
right.
You know,
but how, you know, say I have something you want. Will you, on that very first moment, if we don't know each other, will you call up and go, look, what do you say to me? Do you say, I really want that car? Do you say, hey, I really love this car you have? You know, if you're ever thinking about selling it, you know, please.
It depends. If I'm buying it for myself, then I'll tell them the truth. But if I'm buying it to sell it, you know, I'll also tell them the truth. I'll go, look, I'm going to buy the car. I'm going to put it together. You know, it doesn't look like you're going to get to it. And I think I can get to that car, you know, and I think I can get it put back together, and I'll take you for a ride in it. We'll have some fun, and then we'll sell it on down the line.
And don't you feel like you're in a weak position to negotiate at that point? Because
now that I'm on TV, it's a bad spot.
But I mean, even so, just expressing desire for the car and saying I really want this, I always feel like now I don't really have leverage in that negotiation.
Yeah,
right, so there's a fellow who lives next to a friend of mine who's got an old 356 that I saw in his front yard. Maybe I think it was last summer. Silver black. It's got 100,000 miles, dinged up, but it's a one-owner car. The guy bought it on his honeymoon, and he's still driving it. Old guy. And I'm a 1964 Spike Ferriston. That's what year I am.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, this is a car. If I can liberate this from this guy, I love this story. I like the guy too. This is a perfect car for me to buy and take it to the end of my life, and then give it to somebody else at the end of it. But that guy realized he had a lot of leverage in the conversation. He asked, and he said, "Look, I'll sell it to you for this number," and it was a ridiculous number.
Oh yeah.
And I thought now I don't know how to come back at him with something reasonable because we're very far apart.
Well, you just got to tell them that's a ridiculous number. Here's really what it's worth. You know, here's what it's worth, and here's what I'll pay.
I just feel it's very impolite to do, to knock on the door of a guy's house who I'm already bothering, who wasn't selling his car, to go, hey, your number's pretty stupid. Yeah. But do I need to get over that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you'd be surprised how many cars you get just by sticking with them. And the one thing that I learned from a very old guy in the car business who's no longer with us, he told me, he goes, son, because you can buy a $10,000 car all day long for $5,000 if you have it in your pocket.
Oh, there you go.
You know,
right.
So the guy might say, "Hey, I want $10,000 for that." You say, "Hey, that's ridiculous, but I have $5,000 right now."
Yeah,
and you might take that car with you.
Yeah, that's what I call Joe Kennedy theory. I remember reading something about Joe Kennedy and saying, if the money's in your hand, you close the hand. You know, people will make that deal.
Yes, they will.
All right, where are we at? We got to take a break. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Richard Rawlings. If you don't know the greatest feature of Amazon's My Garage by now, you'll be glad you stuck around. With My Garage, you can check out Amazon's library of automotive video content and learn to install things like an air filter, change your oil, or just check out tips for driving off-road. Plus, you can buy with confidence using their customer Q&A to review products and do your research. Go to Amazon.com/mygarage and use promo code SPIKE, my name Spike, for $5 off select orders over $25. That's Amazon.com/mygarage, promo code SPIKE.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back with Richard Rawlings. What is this world record for the Cannonball Run thing that I read about you?
Oh, man, that was
Road trip covering 2,811 miles from New York to Los Angeles by finishing the drive in 31 hours and 59 minutes and averaging 87 miles per hour. When was this?
2007, Mother's Day weekend.
Of course.
But there's still people out there every day trying to beat the Cannonball record. It's not a sanctioned event. It's just something that, guys that are into this stuff and love the old movies and everything still kind of get together.
So wait, you got in a car with your buddy and you said, we're just going to try to break this record?
Yeah, we jumped in a car.
What kind of car?
550 Maranello Ferrari, 1999 model.
Wow.
Great car.
All right.
Yeah.
And you stopwatch? How do you time this thing? What's your plan here?
Well, really what we did was we were set up to do a bull run rally, and we got a bet from a buddy of ours that we couldn't beat the Cannonball. So we set up in New York, and we already had extra bladder in the trunk for extra fuel, and we had all the jammers and diffusers and, CB radio and everything else. So
when you say extra bladder?
Extra gas tank.
You installed that yourself?
Yeah, and literally, it literally looked like a giant Capri Sun bag back there with a fuel pump hooked to it.
It was a bag of gas,
literally.
And where do you attach this bag of gas? I'm guessing it's got a sippy straw coming out of it with twirls. And
it's literally got a $15 fuel pump that goes to the top of the gas tank.
But how do you calibrate the fuel going into the? I mean, how do you?
We just waited till the main tank got low, and then we flip on the switch and put it back in.
Okay.
And
and hope you don't get rear-ended.
Exactly. Yeah, this would have been way worse than a Pinto, but it was just something that we decided to do, and we had a perfect run. We never got. And so,
how many? I want to stick with the gas. How many gallons of gas are you driving with at that point?
I think we were carrying about 68 or 69
gallons of gas.
Yeah, but the one thing that surprised us the most,
my Range Rover does 22, and it's got the extra fuel.
We were getting serious good gas mileage. I'd have to revert back to my notes, but we were getting like 20 and 22 at 160, 170 miles an hour.
Wow.
The car did fantabulous on gas. We literally only physically stopped the car 5 times, 4 times for fuel in both tanks, and 1 time we had somebody meet us on the freeway right out here. It's outside of Redondo for a 5-gallon splash because we weren't going to make it.
And how do you fill up a hefty bag full of gas? I mean, is there a cap on the bag?
Yeah, more or less. It's just like a giant weird plastic container thing.
You just jam it in.
It wasn't even like
and then how do you deal with
cell.
The speeding aspect of it and police officers and the rest of it? And
just go for it and hope for the best.
And you're not famous at this point, or you are?
No, I hadn't been on TV yet or anything like that. I've done a few
fun.
things with with some of the rallies with Gumball and Bull Run and things like that, but I was still just a hot rod guy trying to get along.
I love that. Oh my God. And and John, who's out there with your manager, who's my business partner there, that guy, just flipped me off. He was the best man for my wedding, and we threw a Cannonball Run. We realized there was this law here in California that if you buy a car, you already own a car that has insurance, you have 10 days to register and insure it. In other words, you can buy this car and you can just drive it. You don't have to kick it down to the DMV or do anything. So I think the budget was $700. We had 4 teams of guys. I was on a Jehovah Witness team. We all had white shirts and ties. There was a live tissue ambulance that was an old Mercedes diesel. There was a solar radiation test vehicle that had big stickers on it and like giant satellite dishes, and it said, "Stay at least 12,000 feet away from this car." My car I bought from this really nice old lady in Marina Del Rey. It was a Olds Delta 88 for $700. And she handed me the keys, and she cried. She goes, "I hope you enjoy it as much as I will." And I said, "Well, you have no idea, ma'am. You have no idea." And we, the idea was that we would drive together to Primm, which I think is the last town you get to before you get into Las Vegas, into Nevada. And then from there, it would be a straight, balls out race. Whoever gets to the hotel first wins the trophy. And what we've realized in Hollywood on Fairfax, right when we started the whole thing was, since we don't have to worry about these cars, we can kind of smash them up. So I remember getting right to the first stoplight and someone just rear-ending at about 30 miles an hour, and all of us laughing. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, just not having to worry about getting hit or doing anything. Of course, we were stopped. We were stopped in like 2 hours in on the way to Vegas by cops, and every time we had to stop twice. John out there was the first guy to get stopped because he was doing the donut around an exit ramp, and the state police were right there. And we told them what we were doing, and they just laughed. They said, "That is amazing. That's hilarious. You got go ahead. Just be safe, guys. Be safe."
Yeah. Be safe.
Be safe. And I got out to Prim. We all stopped. We gassed up, and then we went to start this race. And we were flying up on the road to Vegas. It was all pretty tight. There was not a lot of traffic. We were being as safe as possible. Which clearly this was not safe, but we were young idiot kids. And my car exploded at 110 miles an hour. And by that, I mean the bottom of the engine, it went like, and you could probably tell me what happened, but it went boom like this, right? I looked behind me, and it was like a James Bond 007 movie. The whole highway was filled with smoke, but you could not see. It was a thick wall of fog. So the oil had been dumped into the engine. It was getting pushed through. And the car kind of went off the road, and we thought we were on fire. So my brother and my friend Bill and I just ran from the car onto the road as the other three cars went past us beeping and laughing, "See you later." And we're 30 miles outside of the city, and we were just left by ourselves. It was right around, I think, 4 or 5 o'clock. And we took our suitcases out when we realized the car wasn't burning and started walking down the road. And we walked, and it was getting late. The rule was you can't come back and pick these guys up. If you don't make it, you don't make it, even if you're the guy getting married. And that was me. And we made it to an Albertsons truck stop. You know, just there were a bunch of Albertsons supermarket trucks that they were storing. There was a security guard, and by now it was like dark. It was like 8 o'clock and nighttime, and the security guard looks up and sees us walking with our white shirts and our ties and our suitcases, and we go, "Hey, can we use your phone?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure. You guys pilots? Your plane crash or something?" They're like, "It's too hard to explain."
Well, if you ever do that again, I'm in.
But boy, was it fun. You can't do it now. You can't do those things because it's reckless. It's reckless to drive that way around people in traffic.
It really is. But I'll put out an invitation for you.
Okay.
Because me and my buddies are going to do this, and we're probably going to do it in the spring. But we're going to have Magnum PI bumper cars at my shop. So everybody's got to bring their own 308. And you got to wear a mustache and a Hawaiian shirt. And we're going to play bumper cars to the last one standing.
I did a Magnum thing on I am so in. I love that show. I wear the Tigers hat. I'm going to do this. But I have to buy my own 308?
Yeah.
Will you help me find a cheap one?
They're still out there.
And you're going to smash Ferrari 308s?
I think it'll be great.
Part of me is really upset by this, but part of me is very excited. Well, they made a lot of those cars, right?
There are a ton of those cars. They're almost as proliferant as Volkswagens.
That's right. So we can smash them up. Well, look, man, it's really nice meeting you.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited about the new season of Fast and Loud. It's premiering Monday, October 16th on Discovery Channel. Richard Rawlings, everybody. See you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Right on. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
What's happening, guys? This is Chael Sonnen, America's favorite gangster. Make sure you check out my show, You're Welcome, right here at Podcast One. I've got guests like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Dana White, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and upcoming Brad Pitt and Will Smith are going to be in studio to talk about upcoming projects. Go, listen, enjoy, check it out. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Send a pigeon, send a fax, write it on a postage stamp. Just make sure you are listening to You're Welcome at Podcast One or download and listen on the Podcast One app.